being able to be in a circle of people that understand the challenges that come with real estate investing and being an entrepreneur business owner is it's definitely a breath of fresh air.
You're listening to Ice Cream with Investors, a podcast that is dedicated to teaching you how to better invest your money so that you can live a more intentional life. I'm your host, Matt Four, and it is my goal to teach and empower you to remove the roadblocks to your financial success.
All right, Johnny, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. Glad to be here, brother.
Absolutely. Well, we like to start with the difficult questions here. What's your favorite ice cream?
Vanilla. Plain
vanilla. Just vanilla.
Just vanilla.
No sprinkles, no gummy bears.
No. I'm really a plain dessert. Whether it's regular pound cake or cheesecake minus all the strawberry and all the different flavors you can get. I just like to keep it simple.
Okay. Do you have a favorite flavor of vanilla? Like, who makes the best vanilla out there?
Oh man, I've come to like Tom and Jerry's here lately. With just kind of more so, I guess, on the East Coast. I've traveling around the military that and you see a lot of it. But Tom and Jerry's, I think, is cool right now.
Okay.
I say you think change every 7 years.
Yeah. Well, tell our listeners, what's the scoop? What do you do today?
Yeah, so man, I wear quite a few hats right now. Number one, I am a devoted husband and father. My wife Melissa and 3 kids, Johnny, Mackenzie, and Jace. They take up the majority. I won't say the majority of my time, but they're priority for me. But then also, man, I serve in the military, been active duty Air Force for a little bit over 17 years now, and phenomenal. Love serving and just being able to impact the mission with keeping the homeland free. And so that's been something I've been focused on for 17 years. Along the way, picked up real estate, leveraging my VA loan to buy multiple properties in conjunction with just moves to relocate for different jobs. And in 2015, my wife and I, we started our own home renovation business. And we've been going ever since with fixing and flipping properties, and venturing into multifamily over time. And then, author, I wrote a book back in December 21, and now I am a real estate coach and mentor. So I help people build cash flowing portfolios, whether it's on the single family side, lending money, or on the multi-family side, buying a small apartment building.
Awesome. Well, a lot to dig in there. But first of all, mad respect that you started with devoted husband. Like we have a lot of folks on here that start professionally, and you went straight with the that's my number one priority. So I appreciate that.
No, thank you. Yeah, for sure, man. That's it.
Well, tell our listeners, where'd your real estate journey begin then?
Man, my first house that I ever bought was in Warner Robins, Georgia, November 2006. First duty station, had been there a year. And I tell people the story in my book about, I was an electrical engineer coming out of college, but I didn't really have a strong financial literacy background. That my credit was screwed up, and it was really humbling when I moved into my first apartment building, and I had to have a family member sign on my lease with me because I couldn't sign myself because I screwed up my credit, because I didn't know, hey, you need to be paying your credit card on time and doing little things like that went a long way. And luckily for me, over the next 10 months, I got that figured out. I went through and got everything kind of cleaned up. Went through Lexington Law way back. I don't even know if they're still around, but I went through them to kind of dispute things and get old stuff updated and closed out. And it worked out really well when an opportunity presented itself. A good friend of mine, we were lieutenant serving together, and he found a duplex, and it was for sale. And he came to me, he's like, hey, J2, he's like, man, I'm gonna buy one side. You need to buy the other side. And, we're gonna live here, man. And we can rent this out when we leave. And when I looked at it, the mortgage, taxes, and insurance was a little bit over $300 cheaper than what I was paying right now for my apartment building. So it was a little leap of faith. I had learned a little bit about, credit and the VA loan. I didn't have to even bring money to the closing table. I got money back because with the closing credits, with the seller credits. And so it worked out really, really well. But there was a kind of a leap of faith to take action on that first one. And I've really been kind of hooked on real estate ever since.
Do you still own that property?
I just sold it last month. And it was a decision where the roof was coming up, was probably going to be need to be replaced, as well as the HVAC unit. We still had the original carpet in there from when I moved in. I don't even think we've replaced the appliances. And so it was like, okay, there's a lot of end of life with the major systems. And so it made sense with one of the rules with, the capital gains that, you have the 5 years. And if you live there as your primary residence for at least 2 of the last 5 years, you don't have to pay capital gains tax, up to $250K for a single individual, with up to $500K for a married couple filing jointly. And so with military, they pushed that out to 15 years. And so I was getting close to where we were going to cross that threshold of living in the last 2 years of the 15 being in the military. So I was like, okay, I think this is a better time than any. We just did a major multifamily acquisition for a quarter last year. So it was a good time to just kind of bring that equity, liquidate, and build up cash reserves again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm typically a buy and hold guy, specifically on my single family portfolio, but I do think there's a time in your investment journey where it does make sense to capitalize and redeploy that equity somewhere else. And to your point around like the 15 years, like all of a sudden now you're looking at a tax bill if you hold that thing, plus all the money that you'd have to dump in it. Sounds like a pretty good decision. Did you make out pretty well on that?
Yep, we did. I paid a whopping $65,000 for that property back in 2006, and it was sold for $115. So, and it was just a 2-2, I think 970 square foot, and originally built at 03. So, nice little starter home, beginning home, and it's been rented. The tenant that moved out, I let them know that we were selling, but she had been there over 11 years. So, it had consistently performed. I didn't keep up with the market rent as I should have over the years. But, no issues. There wasn't a whole lot of maintenance. Thankfully.
So talk me through that, right? You have somebody in there that's paying the rent consistently, it sounds like, for 11 years. There comes a time when you have a tenant like that where you kind of don't want to rock the boat. Like I always say that personal finance is part emotion and part math. And this is a part where like emotion kind of creeps in. Why do you think you didn't push rent up as much as maybe market would dictate? And just talk us through your decision there.
Well, I think, that's a great question, because a lot of times we don't address those different things in the mindset, and a lot but that goes behind how we make decisions. And I think for me, one was the consistent cash flow was coming in. It was kind of out of sight, out of mind. I left that house in January 2010. I haven't stepped foot back in it since then, and just now sold it in the beginning of 23. So all those years, and it was working. The management was in place, taking care of things. So for me, it was seamless. It wasn't broke. It wasn't fixed. We, a couple of years ago, I did raise the rent. I think like $75. It wasn't anything drastic. I think we probably were still at least $100 to $125 below market rent, which was fine for me with where I'm at right now professionally and with our real estate investing business. $100 wasn't really, going to move the needle. I know when they moved out, I was going to have to paint. I was going to probably have to put in $2,000 or $3,000, maybe carpet, and for painting the house throughout. So things like that, like, it's, cheaper. Just go ahead, leave it in there, leave the tenant in there, and just ride it out. Since right now, we can make up for that in other areas of our portfolio. So,
yeah, that's it. I recently had a tenant move out after 5 years, and I've just been bumping 3% every single year, just consistently. And I know the Nashville market dictates a way higher rent growth than that. However, finally, they moved out this year, and we're having to pay $7,000 to go do the carpets, the floors, the appliances, touch up everything. And, oh, by the way, it's been sitting vacant for two months now. So at this point, was it really worth it to go grab, in your case, $75 extra, or should I just kept the boat going the way it was and not rock the boat too much? And that goes to, I don't think there's a bad decision there. You just got to make a decision based off of your personal circumstance.
Yep, 100%. It was emotional. Your first house you ever bought, and all of that extra baggage, and with the way in, the decision. But I'm like, okay, stick to the numbers, take the emotion out. Like, yeah, it's the best thing to do numbers wise. So, like, hey,
yeah. You mentioned a VA loan earlier and securing the property with a VA loan. So would you mind, first of all, define a VA loan for maybe if that's a new term for our listeners out there?
Sure. I love this strategy, especially, when I start talking with my young airmen, my young troops, that it's a benefit that comes with serving. If you serve over, I think right now, if you served over 6 months active duty service, post 9/11, that you qualify for the new GI Bill, not GI Bill, but you qualify for VA loan, that you're serving up and now you have that benefit. And so with that benefit, you're able to buy a single family dwelling all the way 1 through 4 units. So you can go all the way up to a quadplex 4-unit building using a VA loan. And the major benefit from the VA loan is that a portion of it is backed or guaranteed by the government. And so from a lender perspective, it reduces their risk with issuing you a mortgage compared to just Joe Blow down the street that maybe takes puts 15% down. It's not backed by the government or anybody if you stop paying. So one of the things with the VA loan, you can get 100% financing. You don't have to put any money down.
Wow.
A lot of time, depending on the lender and what's going on with the market, you may have lender credits. Especially in this market right now, you could probably get buyer credits. We actually are selling a duplex now to a veteran that's using his VA loan. And we're doing a rate buy down, kind of the 2-1, where we buys rate down 2% the first year and 1% the second year. And so you can get in a deal with no money down. You get, and I tell my young troops that, hey, you can go buy a multi-unit and become an instant landlord at the same time without coming out of pocket with any money down. And which is really powerful. We're getting in, starting building assets at a young age and kind of taking advantage of that.
Yeah, coupled that with a duplex and house hacking, for instance, so you can live in one side, house hack the other side, pay for your living expense, all while accruing an asset over time is tremendous. And just to put into context, we were chatting beforehand. I am going through the loan process right now, and I think I saw that a VA loan was about 50 to 75 bips lower than a conventional rate as well. So that's an additional benefit. Are there certain red tape around this or guidelines like the FHA, it has to be your first loan, just stuff like that? Are there any guidelines around that we got to be cognizant of?
They have different qualifications for us, like the debt to income ratio is a little different. And the same thing you see with the FHA, where when the government is involved, they kind of have their spin on how they want things to look. But usually they're a little bit more lenient than, say, conventional. And then also that a lot of the myth is that you can only use it one time and then you have to sell it and then start. But I actually was able to use it 3 times in a row, while still owning the first 2. Because it's based off your entitlement. So you get a certain amount of entitlement. And as long as you buy property, like my first house, was under $70,000. So, with that, I had a lot of entitlement left. And so I could go buy a property for $208,000. And then moving into like a high cost area, like the DC market or Los Angeles or Boston, they bump up your entitlement. And so I had just enough entitlement left to where I could get a condo for $280,000. And so I had 3 VA loans simultaneously and was able to still qualify for those. But, they have certain inspections that they like. One of the downfalls that I see a lot is that it usually, because the government's involved, it takes a little bit longer to close. And especially within the market that we were in the last 2-3 years, that was a hindrance for a lot of veterans with getting their deals accepted, just because, you have a lot, depending on where you're at, you might have a lot of cash offers. You had a lot of people that were waiving inspection contingencies in order to get into deals. And those are some things that you can't necessarily waive, that by law, the VA loan, they had to have an inspection, they have to have an appraisal. And if it doesn't appraise, you got to bring money to the table, of course. And it just takes time to go through to get the government, the VA loan approval on the back end to finally get that clear to close. And so a lot of times sellers are shy away, just because conventional can close and perform faster. Cash, of course, closes faster. Then if someone doesn't have any inspection or they don't have any financing contingency, then it just makes it that much straightforward for the seller's perspective to accept another offer. But yeah,
got it. Were you able to do 100% financing on all 3 of those loans too?
Yep, all 3 were 100%.
Holy smokes! So you bought 3 properties, no money down, basically. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the second 2 were they were foreclosures as well too. And the third property that I bought, I actually refinanced it into a conventional loan so I could use my VA loan again the 4th time for my current house. When we moved back to Northern Virginia, we bought another foreclosure. Then we found an MLS here. And so that was a little hairy, 2 extensions and a lot of praying, but we got it done to be able to refinance into conventional and then close on this VA loan simultaneously with the same lender. So, but yeah, thank the Lord we were able to get it done.
Gotcha. I think I remember reading part of your story and listening to your story around you were going and buying foreclosures and doing the fix and flips and burr process, if I'm not mistaken, in Birmingham. Talk us through the foreclosure process. I've never purchased anything from foreclosure. I know folks out there that specialize on it. And as we're entering the choppy waters of 2023 here, that might be a strategy that other investors could go look at right now. Talk us through that process.
Yeah, most definitely. And the crazy part of it, it was really straightforward because, with those, they were HUD foreclosures. So they have a HUD representative or HUD broker that kind of works within that region or area to list their properties. So it was listed on the MLS just as any other property on the MLS that we were able to find. It just so happened that it was owned by HUD because they had foreclosed on it. So the first two kind of fit within that realm. And then the most recent foreclosure that we bought, that it had been owned by Wells Fargo, and they had listed on the MLS, and we were able to pick it up that way. So it was just a different owner that had foreclosed, the government versus a traditional bank with Wells Fargo. But all of them, they hit the MLS, and that was the process that we went through. With the most recent one, we were third highest bid, and the first two people over the next 10 days walked away from it, and they eventually got to us, and we were $20K over list price. And, we were fortunate that it worked out.
Is there a filter that you have to select to find foreclosures, or are you reading through property descriptions? Like, how are you finding them on the MLS?
So HUD has a website, HUD Home Store. I think it's .com. HUD Homes. It's either HUD Store, HUDHomestore.com or .gov. But that's where you can see the HUD properties there, and it also populates on the MLS as well too. But I really frequent that website. With the most recent transaction, we went with a foreclosure short sale specialist in our area that kind of focused on those. And, and so we had been looking at that. I got orders to report back to the DC area that we had started looking probably maybe 30 days before it hit the market, and when she notified us. But we were working with somebody that kind of specifically understood what those opportunities look like, and it kind of made sure that we were top of mind and that we got those notifications as soon as they hit the market.
What's the downside off of buying a foreclosure?
A lot of times, potentially, depending on the state or condition of the property, could prevent it from qualifying for traditional financing, just depending on if it's a real older home. But most of the homes, they were move-in ready. Two of them, we just had to paint like one room in the house each time that we moved there. The most recent one was kind of, I would say, the most extensive, whereas that we had to paint the entire house. We had to put new carpet down in the bedrooms and living room, and new appliances. But outside of that, they had replaced the previous owner had replaced the roof 3 years before then, and it was just kind of cosmetic. And so depending on those situations, they easily qualify. But if there's something where like a foundation issue, or if it needs a new roof, it's got like an active leak, things like that could stop you from being able to use the strategy we talked about, like with the VA loan or FHA loan with buying a foreclosure.
Gotcha. Have you ever found like pre-foreclosure lists and tried to call those homeowners and try to buy them that way, or are you just waiting till they go through the foreclosure process?
Oh, great question. So these all kind of been primary residents that I talked about, but I do have, with our renovation business, I have a virtual assistant in the Philippines that does like outreach for me. And so we do target pre-foreclosure lists as well as other kind of indicated lists that indicate distress, whether it's evictions for tired landlords or probate property where someone may inherited a house, or it's like code violations with code enforcement for a certain property, just indicators that somebody may be having a challenge associated with the home that we may be able to come in and provide a solution for them to pick it up. For pennies on the dollar, just depending on the condition.
Yeah. Now the VA over in the Philippines, are you giving them targeted lists and they're making cold calls? Like, what's your strategy there?
Yep. So we do kind of a mix. It's a mixed bag. Our primary strategy is sending text message blasts, and then we do some cold calling as well too. And I'm thinking about getting back into direct mail, going to direct the owner with some of those niche lists that I just mentioned, we were sending direct mail to it, kind of just hitting a three-headed monster where we're just coming from three different directions at those lists to kind of make sure that our message is received by the potential seller.
Yeah, it's funny how those strategies like ebb and flow, right? Direct mail used to be all the rage, and then it was like you got to go to text messages, and nobody responds to text anymore, so you cold call them, and then cold calling, no one answers, so you go back to direct mail. Like, It really depends on where we are in the campaign strategies on how do you just be unique, right? I think that's the most important thing. I'm tired, because I own property, of getting 50,000 text messages a day, so I just delete those from now. But today I walked out to the mailbox and I had direct mail in there, and I'm like, holy smokes, haven't seen one of these in forever. And oh, wow, that's a nice picture. I might call those guys.
Yep, 100%. And that's all it's all about with marketing, is just standing out and then being top of mind when somebody needs your service.
Yep. So what areas are you focused on right now with your home renovation business? Are you focused primarily in the Southeast? I think I heard Alabama, Birmingham at one point. What markets are you focused on?
Yep. So right now we're focused Panama City, Florida, and then across the state of Alabama, we're doing projects, whether it's multifamily or single family.
Gotcha. And when you talk multifamily, you talking 5 units and up, or?
Yep. 5 units and up. And my sweet spot is kind of 40 and below.
Gotcha. And I think you said when we were chatting before that you primarily JV on those properties. Is that correct?
Yep. So JV is probably my preferred strategy. My goal is, as we flip properties, the last couple of years have been really, really good as far as flips. And the goal was to pick up more rentals to create passive income. And so we cherry pick some of the rentals that we are burr and kind of refinance and keep those. But then also for like the ones that we flip, we would take the profit, save it up, buy a multi-unit, and then go in and, but hopefully there's a value add. We primarily look for value add, and then increase those over time. And once you increase the rents, just looking to hold more long-term, refinance a whole long-term, and, have 3 to 5 people that kind of have the same vision, the same investing horizon and goals to kind of come in that's looking to hold long-term for passive income, for the tax write-offs with the bonus depreciation. They kind of just go for the ride together, and they trust me as an operator. I got my capital tied up in the deal, and life's good.
Yeah. What's your portfolio look like today then? How many units you have, all that kind of stuff?
Right now we have 112 units, and I think valued a little bit over $10 million. And nice. We have 20 under contract in Montgomery to kind of close up a broader deal that we've closed on all the assets except for just one with the seller there.
Nice. And I think recently you started a mastermind group called REI Genius. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. REI Genius, a real estate investing genius, is just helping everyone that essentially tap into their own genius. I'm a true believer that we all have an astute investor inside of us, and it's really just fostering that knowledge. We have weekly workshops where we bring on high-level individuals like yourself and just kind of get their journey, understand their strategy. And then the last 10, 15 minutes, we actually allow the community to engage and ask questions, specific, something they may need, for their specific situation or advice or anything like that. And so it's a really cool setup. I host boot camps to kind of teach the different strategies that I leverage to build wealth. And, and so essentially I'm trying to create a community, I would say bigger pockets on steroids, where you have a whole lot more hands-on mentorship and coaching to help you where you are right now in your real estate journey, move the needle and accelerate that journey for yourself. So that's kind of the vision to kind of grow that over time. And so we launched in November timeframe and just continue to grow.
No, I love that. I think you are the people that you surround yourself with. And I was having this conversation with my accountant the other day. It just seems like the more success I have, the fewer friends I have from my old life that are around me that want to talk about wealth building, that want to talk about tax structures, that want to talk about legal entities and how we can make things happen, et cetera. So it's always important to go find that next tribe that's going to push you to your next limit. And it sounds like that's what you guys are putting together over there.
Yep, 100%. I'm a true believer that the Bible says that iron sharpens iron. And, and that's the thing with just bringing, because a lot, like you said, I was the same way. A lot of my friends don't really, entrepreneurship isn't their thing. It's real estate investing. As much as you talk about it and, to the point now, it's like, you guys see the deals, you've seen the journey. It's like, there's nothing else I can really say to motivate you if you're not interested at this point, with changing who you are and all that piece and investing and diversifying. But it's been joining masterminds the last 3 years. That process started for me. That it's just been an exponential return on the time and the relationships to be able just to move the needle where I'm as an investor, where I am mentally, physically, just the accountability that comes with that. It's been tremendous because it's definitely energizing. Whereas a lot of times, if you kind of get in situations or you go through challenges and you don't have anybody that can relate to you in your circle, then you can become a loner and kind of out there. It can be frustrating, but being able to be in a circle of people that understand the challenges that come with real estate investing and being an entrepreneur and business owner is it's definitely a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to try to frame this question the right way. So let me try to preface this. I'm very inspired by your story, just having this conversation and doing a little bit of research, but getting to know you over this conversation. And you're a guy that seems to you're not looking for home runs. What you're looking for is just doubles and singles every single day, and to grow a portfolio through the military while being deployed, running different strategies, surrounding yourself with the right people and things like that is super inspiring, because I think a lot of times we get on these shows and people talk about, I own $2 billion of assets and I'm raising my next $10 million fund and all those sorts of things. But I really respect the singles and doubles that you've seemed to hit over the past 17 and a half years to get yourself in the position you're in. So the question is, where does this thing end, man? Where's the end game? 40 years from now, Johnny's looking back on his career. Where do you think you are at that stage?
Man, I'm gonna be a happy retired man, watching my kids and grandkids continue the legacy, continue to grow. Whether it's the REIG's community, whether it's the private equity fund I'm looking to aspire to go ahead and start at the end of this year. That is, at this point, is legacy. A lot of the decisions that I'm making is for my grandkids, and my oldest child is 9. So they're not even here, not even thought about yet. But I'm constantly, thinking about, hey, how does this end up long term? And it's fun for me. That what we've been able to build with my wife, that it's been a true blessing, and to do it that way. And for me, it's all about time freedom. That whereas that once I step away from and hang up the uniform, that we'll have more than enough passive income where I can spend time with the kids, we can travel, we can do whatever we want to do, and I can find, I found my passion already with serving, but really, now with the community, we're being able to coach and mentor people, and and it's really humbling to have somebody say that their life wouldn't be where it is today if they hadn't met me, or the decisions and the inspiration and the knowledge and strategies that I've given them to help change their legacy and how they approach their life. And so it's really cool, man, to give back to people. And, I'm just going to continue to do that. And, and I got it from my dad. My dad was a pastor, his last church, I think he pastored over 23 years. And I just saw that commitment, Sunday after Sunday, week in, week out, Wednesday Bible studies, and, going, driving an hour to, Mobile to the hospital when people are in the hospital sick. And just that commitment and service that it was truly inspiring. And, now it's like, okay, I can serve in a different capacity, whereas that, being able to help people, spiritually, because I love sharing my faith, and, because I think that's a strong tenet of where my success is, that faith and my beliefs in Jesus Christ. But then also, just giving people the financial strategies to level up their life, to be able to live a better quality life. And so kind of coupling those things together, that, I can do this forever, and, just build that legacy to kind of hand it off to the kids. So I don't have a number of units or a number for his net worth that I'm chasing, but, I'm living right now in the present, and, just thankful for, where I've come from in the journey, and just taking a day at a time and continue to just build.
Yeah, all I hear from that is service in a different way, right? I mean, today you serve one way, tomorrow you're going to serve another way. It's humbling. Well, I want to shift this now into our last round. We're calling this the 5 toppings. Our first one is, what is your favorite book, or what is a book you've read recently that's giving you a paradigm shift?
For me, I think the book right now that I'm reading, I'm about halfway through, is The Gap in the Game by, I think, Sullivan. Is it Dan Sullivan?
Dan Sullivan, yeah.
Yep. So I'm really, I got a speaking engagement coming up in April, and so I'm kind of thinking through, and I read some different books, and this one's kind of definitely I gravitated to. It's just really, all about, operating in the gains that you've had over your life to bring you to where you are to now. And, taking time just really to smell the roses and not look down on comparing yourself to someone else's journey or on your future ambitions and goals that you got down the road, but really have a true self-assessment of where you come from and appreciate it and take time to smell the roses today.
Yeah, that's the book my coach recommends that I need to read the most, because I have a little bit of difficulties comparing myself, not to other people, but to my future self. And I'm glad you brought that up.
Nice.
Our second one is, I believe that the person you become 10 years from now is correlated to the habits that you have and the things that you do every day. What are some of the habits that you have?
Oh man, the new one I just picked back up, worked it out, hit the gym. I joined, my wife joined first, but I joined Burn for Boot Camp. And it's really, one of the things with COVID, with us in the military, we usually have group PT and you get together, you work out, the camaraderie and, motivation. You're not just going to the gym by yourself and trying to motivate your way through an hour workout. But that is something that I missed during COVID, and going into COVID, I had a major knee surgery with a torn ACL. And so I never really got back into the gym over the last few years. So that's been something the last 7 weeks that's just been really invigorating for me, just passed the physical fitness test, the first one in like 3 years that I had to take. And so really the gym piece is big for me right now. That habit of reading books, and at least 2 books a month is kind of the goal for me. And then they're following me time with the family, one date night outside of the house at least a month. And, we usually try to do one movie night, look kind of Netflix and chill one night after week, get the kids in bed, and then we just hang out and continue to grow with one another. So that's kind of the big one, some different, the real estate side, continuing to get smarter on different things, but then also you got to keep balance and keep the family top of mind too.
Netflix and chill takes on a different meaning when you got kids, right?
Yes.
Our third one is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
For me, I think I'm gonna go back to what my mom taught me with just being able to, do your best at whatever it is that you're doing in life. I really took that to heart. That her analogy was, whether you're mopping floors or cleaning toilets, you're gonna be the best floor mopper there is out there. That whatever you do is worth doing your best at, and that's something that I've always kind of just been driven and strive for perfection, to sometimes to a detriment, when you go too hard, but then putting a lot of pressure on yourself. But I think it's really worked really well with kind of helping me stay focused and disciplined and driven to kind of see things through.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I love endurance sports. I'm an Ironman athlete, so I just love competing against myself. Like, who can you be today? And did you show up as your best person today is the most important. Our fourth one is, what is the thing you're most proud of in your life?
Most proud of? I just think, I'm most proud of, the husband and father that I am. I'm really big on the family. When I talk about like my upbringing, and my mom, she pushed me really. She was like, I had my younger sister that, hey, you got to get out of this town. I grew up in a small rural area, 3 traffic lights. I think it was like 2,000 people in the city limits type deal. And she knew that there was more out there than just what I could visually see and what I knew. And so she constantly planted that seed. Hey, you got to get your grades. You got to get out of here. You got to go to college, get your education so you can make something out yourself. And oh, by the way, you can't forget about your sister and take care of your sister. And so once I had a family and just to see how proud, and her to tell me how proud she was of the man that I become, the father and husband, I think that's really, something that I kind of take to heart, because the other stuff, the portfolio, the real estate, writing the book and being an author, that's cool. But, really just, you can't replace family and being there, just the life that we're able to build together. That I think is definitely what I'm most proud of.
Man, I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yep.
Our fifth and last one is, if you could sit down and eat a bowl of ice cream with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Now you're gonna make me cry. It'll be my mom, dude. I literally got back home yesterday evening. I had to fly to Mobile over the holiday weekend and just move personal items out that my sister wanted to keep and then prepare for the estate sale since my mom passed away June of 21. And I just been dreading the process. And my dad moved to Detroit, moved in with his sister and brother-in-law. And so he's not going back there. And so just that process to go through the house and kind of go through and process all the personal items, get that done. But I would love to, and this is what I tell people, it's like, you don't have time. You think you have a lot of time, you don't have a lot of time to build wealth, to do the things that we know we should be doing, to get in the doors, to get in the passive income. Because with me, it's like, I did all this, but I did it a whole lot slower. And like the loved ones that I would love for her to reap the benefits of my success and doing all this stuff, but she's not here to see it all. That she was able to see the first multifamily, she saw the business going and everything, but I would have loved for her to be here, just be able to sit over ice cream, but like, hey, look at what we've done over this career and everything that's come to it, and to be there in a couple of years when I retire from the service. So, I would love to sit down and have ice cream and just kind of continue just to chit chat and have another conversation with her for sure.
Yeah, it's Jesse Itzler, I think. He's the owner of the Atlanta Hawks, famous guy married to the owner of the Spanx, founder of the Spanx, talks about it a lot. You don't have 3 more years with your parents or 5 more years or whatever. You have 3 years plus 3 holidays plus maybe a vacation. So you've got 12 more visits. And when I heard that back in 2016, I really started to put into context how much time I really have with my folks, because they're a little bit older, and unfortunately, my sister passed away in the middle of the night at the age of 40. So it's not like life is infinite. So I really appreciate that answer. And I know she's looking down at all the success you've had. And even though you can't share it with her today, you can share it with her grandkids and your grandkids. And I know she'll appreciate that.
For sure.
Well, Johnny, fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you coming on and really getting a chance to get to know you. If our listeners wanted to reach out to you and learn more about you, get in touch with you, learn about REI Genius, where's the best place we could point them?
Best place to be my website, johnnylynum.com is a great place. You can find me same name, Johnny Lynum, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and the Military CEO on Instagram. So any of those, and you'll reach me.
Perfect. We will link all those in the show notes. And then Johnny, thanks for coming on the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Matt. Really enjoyed it, brother.
Thank you for listening to Ice Cream with Investors. If you like what we serve you here, it would mean the world to me if you would like, subscribe, and leave a review on your favorite podcast app.